Hi there all. I'm going to try to reproduce the zinc carbon cookie cell. I've got a slightly different construction. I have my zinc formed in a little cylinder shape. I've managed to get some tracing paper. It's really dear around here. It's $8 for 10 sheets of the stuff. So that will sit over the zinc plate. I was a bit rough on my carbon briquette things, and I just chucked them in the pot when I was making them because I was going to crush the stuff up. I bored the hole out slightly bigger. I've wrapped a piece of copper and some copper wire to hold that on there as the contact. I'll keep the electrolyte down to here. This was Martin from Solar Hope's idea to put the zinc through the center and see what happens. And for a resistance, it's on the 200 range. It's quite high in resistance actually. And just poking under here, we get about 1.3 ohms from top to bottom, which ain't too bad for what it is. It's about that. Oh yeah, it's slightly less closer to the contact. So this cell should produce. First I'm going to just try standard zinc sulfate. Then if that's not sort of equal to that cell, I'll have to make some more zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles to put in the solution and hopefully try to get it into this carbon. So I'll fill this up with some electrolyte. Over here, 1 molar zinc sulfate. I'm hoping I'm going to have enough. Try that much first, because this will displace. I don't want to get that copper wet, because the cell may collapse once the copper starts getting the zinc sulfate on it. Okay, we can go a bit more. Just fits in the jar. I can top it up to around about there, I think. Oh, I just lost my little copper bindy bit. It's still tight, but must have overwound it. Oh, too much. Okay, perfect amount. Alright, I'll put this on the voltage reading. 20 volt range. I'll get a lead. Just connect this positive lead to the outside of that copper. Stick the zinc cell in. And the separator. Okay. Alright, we'll try a voltage reading. Alright, we're at 1 volt already. I'll try a short circuit. 200 milliamp range, uncharged, fresh cell. 59 milliamps, 60, going up actually, as the carbon goes in, I think. Or I mean the electrolyte goes into the carbon. It seems to be bubbling a bit. As you can see, oxygen's getting displaced from within the carbon. It's making that cracking sound. Oh, we're up to 190 milliamps, 100 milliamps. rising in milliamps, considering it's on short circuit. Going to the 200 range. I mean the 1 amp, 10 amp range. Alright, we're at 180, 190. 200 milliamps. Ooh, we're going to get 210, about 220. Oh, we're holding 220 milliamps on a short circuit. Let's unshort circuit and see what happens. So it's quite impressive on the resistance on that charcoal. It was activated with feather carbons and urea. It was at 200 degrees for 24 hours, so the urea may have turned into graphic carbon nitrate at that temperature. Well, we did a 300 milliamp. I think I'm wobbling. So we've got increased surface area, so it's going to be hard to sort of test if that's a duplicate at the moment. So we'll do, oh, and plus the tracing paper might not be the deeper we plunge that, the better we get. Tracing paper goes all the way to the bottom, and the zinc cell can slide up and down it. Interesting, if the cell sort of works, you could probably have zinc cores you can remove and replace if it consumes them, providing the carbon doesn't block up. Be good to have a whole piece of carbon this long. Alright, I'll try a charge. Actually, at the moment we'll probably run that load without any worries. I'll set that up and I'll get back. Okay, I've allowed the cell to rest for around about 5 minutes in the electrolyte. It's just plain zinc sulfate. I have a 100 milliamp load. Hopefully it doesn't really run. Here we go. Alright, so it's not just the zinc sulfate doing what that other cell did. Oh well, we haven't charged it up. I'll charge it up and we'll see what happens. Oh, we have some increasing in voltage. Maybe the carbon's not completely wet through it. I can still hear it bubbling. But we're not going to get 33 minutes on this without a charge. Well, it's going to take a couple of days to make the zinc hexacyanoferrate particles. So I'll give it a charge. If it fails, I'll pull the carbon out so it doesn't eat away that copper in time. Alright, so it's not just that carbon doing the work, because we're not really getting our milliamps. A bit early to say. I'll charge it for a half hour and we'll see what we get. We'll do the same load test. I didn't really wait for the other cookie to get electrolyte in it, I just started electroplating, so... Right, enough of this. It's holding, sort of. Well, carbon that size should be easily able to deliver that many out then. very wonky looking graph. Just went up again. Could be soaking in still, probably, most likely. So we're going to get like 4 minutes, alright, 3 minutes 45 uncharged. So I'll set up a charge and we'll see how it goes after a half-hour charge. Okay, about to connect the charge, start the monitor. Should be on 2.2 volts still. Alright, about 2.1, 400 milliamps, so we got an increase there. Dropping fairly quick. Alright, I'll be back in a half hour. Okay, we've been on charge for 34 minutes. I'm making some zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles at the moment. So I'll disconnect the charge. Connect the data logger. Okay, we should have the voltage reading. So we're at 1.8. I'll stop the logging. And we'll try 100 milliamps again and see what we get. So we drop off rapidly. 1.6. I think we might have done that before. It's looking a bit better than it was. Not much has changed in colour. Still got lots of bubbles around the outside of the cell. I'm pretty sure it's not just the zinc sulphate and the zinc plate and the carbon going to make it run longer. But it could be. Alright, I'll let that run. I'll go make some, keep adding some zinc sulphate to my solution. Okay, the first test for this cell is coming to its conclusion. Maybe. Once it hits 0.4 cutoff voltage. I'm thinking we're not going to be able to compare the two cells. We'll have to do it with this cell. So it's plain zinc sulphate at the moment, so I'll give it 2 charges at 30 minutes and note their runtime, and then later when I prepare the zinc hexacyanoferrate solutions, we'll compare those results with a half-hour charge, and that way if we get a higher increase in our 47 milliamp hours and 35 milliwatt hours with the zinc nanoparticles in it, we know it's sort of doing something different. So I'll just take note of all these I'll record all these, and I'll give it another half-hour charge and I'll get back. Okay, starting the second charge, we're at 400 milliamps still, 2.1 volts, goes up to 2. And one thing I've noticed with this cell compared to the other one is the average voltage is lower, but I think might be due to the heavier load perhaps. The other one was 0.9 average. So I'll be back in a half hour. Okay, we're at the end of the second charge. I'll just disconnect the charger and connect the other end of the data logger. Okay, we should have some voltage now. Yep, 1.9, and we're ready for, I'll turn the monitor off, and we're ready for a discharge. Okay, with these two results, and then after the nanoparticles are drained and filtered, a couple of days, we should have some sort of comparison of the cell's runtime. Alright, I'll be back when this is done. Okay, the second run on the cell just came to an end. We got 33 minutes and 40. We had 28 minutes last time. But we had about a 36-minute charge, I think, and we have 56 milliamps and 42 milliwatt hours, and last run was 47 milliamps and 35 milliwatt. So we're slightly up, so I'll give it another charge and for a half hour, and we'll compare the three results, and then we'll wait for the nanoparticles to be inserted. So I'll be back after a charge. Okay, back for the third charge. Just disconnecting it from the charger. 32 minutes, 33 actually. And plus there was a minute I forgot to connect the data logger. But you get that. Alright, we should have voltage now. No? Alright, one. Data logger could be broke. Oh, alright, wrong lead. Voltage now. Yeah, we're a bit, we're a bit low. We were 1.9 last time. Stopping the monitor and starting the third discharge. Nope, not starting the third discharge. Now. Alright, we'll see if we get the same output as we did with the last two cells. The results of the last two cells. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, the third test for the cells complete. We ran for 36 minutes, 60 milliamp hours this time, and 46 milliwatt hours. And an average volt of 7.6, which is sort of consistent. So that's the results of the three cell tests. So we're within par of each other. It sort of looks like it's increasing with each charge. That could be sucking the zinc out of the electrolyte as well. So the next three charges later on, when the nanoparticles are dry and added to the solution, we'll see if it actually performs better. So until then, I'll catch you later. Hi again, I'm back. I'm ready to add the Zinc Hexacyanoferrate to the carbon pad. I'll just mix it up in a bit of electrolyte and squirt it in through the carbon, through the center, I think, for now. So we got 0.23 grams of Zinc Hexacyanoferrate Nanoparticles. Alright, I'll mix that up. I'll add it to that. Then we'll stick our cell back together and see if we get an increase in charge time for a half hour. I'll be back. Okay, I have the zinc nanoparticles sort of coated. I'll put a bit up there too, but mainly on the inside of the tube, and then I tip the rest of the solution, what wouldn't stay in there, into the electrolyte. So I'll put the cell together and I'll get back. Okay, I have the cell back together. Hopefully the zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles attract to the carbon plate when it's charging, or it's probably not going to work. It's holding 1.148 volts. Been sitting around for about 3 days in the electrolyte. So I'll start the monitoring. We'll give it a half-hour charge at around about 2.1 volts it should be. Connecting the charger now. Okay, 1.9, yep, 2. Alright, so I'll give it a charge for a half hour and we'll see and compare the results. This is plain zinc electrolyte, zinc sulfate, and the other one's added with the zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles. Bit of luck, it sucks into the carbon. So here we go, this should duplicate that other cell we had the other day. Okay, we're at 33 minutes, nearly 34 minutes on charge for the first test with the zinc hexacyanoferrate material added to the electrolyte and a sprinkle around the carbon. So I'll just disconnect the charger. Hopefully we start to see an improvement. It may take a few charges for the cell to start sucking that stuff up, if it actually was sucking it up. So I'll connect the data logger to the other end now. We should have voltage. Yeah, oh, we're a bit low on voltage. Oh no, there we are. Stabilizing 1.8. It's holding, well it was holding. Alright, I'll stop the monitor and we'll start our first 100 milliamp load test for this run. Alright, we dropped right off massively. Oh, it just spiked back up for some reason. Seemed to be unstable. And we're spiking up again. We're climbing. Oh no. Yep. Yeah, we should be stabilizing now. I'll get back when it's done for our first test. Okay, back with the first test with the zinc hexacyanoferrate solution in, and we're slightly up on our results for our half-hour charge. We're 79 milliamp hours, 56 milliwatt hours, and the voltage, average voltage is down a bit. Our total run time was 47. Comparing that to our very first charge, we were only at 47 milliamp hours, 35 milliwatts. So we're blitzing it, sort of. It's sort of looking good. I was wondering if it was going to do the same, because on the original cell, it was a dry piece of carbon what went in, so that would have had a great more force of sucking all the nanoparticles in from the electrolyte, where this one was already saturated. That one's still sort of suspended in solution. I'll give this a shake up and another charge for a half hour, and we'll see if it still increases or drops down. It's a little bit early to see, but I'll be back with the next charge. Okay, back for the second charge, 34 minutes. I've got it already connected up, ready for a discharge. Something drastic dropped the voltage down here. I reckon it might have earthed out on the zinc plate at the bottom or something, perhaps. Not sure. But the voltage went from 2.2 down to 1.7. So we'll set for our second run at 100 milliamps, see what we get. Okay, I'll leave it there and I'll get back. Okay, we just finished the second run. It's somewhat less, 62 milliamp hours compared to 79 milliamp hours, and 37 minutes down from 47 minutes. Might have been something to do with the shorting out, or I don't know, whatever it did. So I'll give it another charge and see what happens. If we're not getting the same results, I might have to put a dry piece of carbon in there so it can suck it up, because it was already saturated, that cell. So it might not have drawn all the zinc hexacyanoferrate into the carbon through the electrolyte, perhaps. So I'll charge it up again and I'll be back in a half hour. Okay, I just wrecked that test. I'll have to charge it up a bit more. This is the other end of the data logger. Notice the amperage. These two touch, it shorts the cell through the data logger. And they were just touching while I was trying to disconnect leads. So I'll give it a bit of a charge, compensate for that, because it took me a while to work out what was going on, why there was a load. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, I just wrecked that test. I'll have to charge it up a bit more. This is the other end of the data logger. Notice the amperage. These two touch, it shorts the cell through the data logger. And they were just touching while I was trying to disconnect leads. So I'll give it a bit of a charge, compensate for that, because it took me a while to work out what was going on, why there was a load. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're at 1.7 now. I'll disconnect it. It was only a couple of seconds. That's a bit disappointing. So if the run is a bit weird, it's because I shorted it out. So third run for the day. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, lifting the zinc plate off the bottom of the cell seemed to do the trick, I think. We got 1 hour run on this one. 110 milliamp hours, 79 milliwatt on a half hour, 34-minute charge. So I'll charge it up again, see how it goes. I might do it for an hour and see, because I think I gave the smaller cell an hour's charge and it did half hour of 100 milliamps. So actually it's increasing by the looks of that bigger, but it's a much bigger surface area. It's right around. So that might have something to do with it. We should expect a bit more of a load perhaps. Still unsure if it's even working right. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, the cell's just had a 1 hour charge. It's at 1.9 volts. So we'll see how much energy density after a 1 hour charge. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, back with the cell that had a hour's charge. I don't think this cell's responding the same way as that one was responding. Perhaps because the carbon was already full of electrolyte before the zinc hexacyanoferrate went in. Perhaps I'm going to do another test with a dry piece of carbon so it absorbs as it's sucking in all the electrolyte. It should suck in nanoparticles as well. Perhaps that's the difference, because I already had the nanoparticles floating around in the solution before I stuck that dry chip in it. So that might be the key thing here, because this doesn't seem to be responding with an hour's charge like the other one. That was a pretty poor run considering. The half hour one before that was 110 milliamps and an hour's runtime for a half hour charge, half of this charge. So I'll try that tomorrow. So I will see you then. Okay, hi again. I'm back trying to reproduce that carbon cell. That cell sort of wasn't doing the same as that cell because I gave it an hour's charge. We were doing half hour charges and the hour's charge never really responded as well as this one was charging up for longer and everything like that. What I believe was happening was when I put that charcoal chip into the electrolyte, it was dry and it just sucked up all the zinc hexacyanoferrate particles and embedded it into the charcoal. So I've got it in solution, the zinc hexacyanoferrate, and I have a new piece which is not soaked in electrolyte yet, so hopefully this will suck up all those nanoparticles and put it within the center of that. So for a resistance test, it's on the 200 ohms mark. Slightly different. I haven't got the copper plate around the outside. I don't think it really matters too much because for a resistance test, I think that one was slightly lower, but I did test it earlier. Depends on how much pressure, so we're looking at 1.8 ohms, 1.6. I did get a 1.3 earlier off camera. Just how you hold this, I think. Might have just been a lucky go, but a bit higher there. So 1.7, 1.6 ohms, not too bad. So have the electrolyte there. Let's give it a stir up so all the nanoparticles are floating in solution. And with a bit of luck, it reproduces that cell. Okay. Alright, it's really bubbling, sucking up the solution. It's like it's boiling. So I'd imagine now the zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles are being absorbed into the carbon's depth. I'll just see if I can push that cell down a little bit deeper. Okay. Right, it's still bubbling away. I'll allow it to soak for about, it's 11:07, probably a half hour. I'll get back about 11:30. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, the bubbling has stopped. We've you can see the electrolyte on the top of the surface. It's sucked up through. It's, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you can sort of see the carbon brick now. So I imagine it's absorbed a fair bit of zinc hexacyanoferrate nanoparticles through that carbon. I don't think it's going to suck up anymore. And okay, right, can you see the cell? Yep. The zinc state of the zinc plate from the last one's not too bad. It's quite clean. Oh, put it on camera. It's got a grey over it. That's probably coming out of the electrolyte. The tracing paper separator is not looking too bad. I'll just stick that in there. Okay, right, yeah. Alright, for a voltage test. On the 20 range. We're at 1 volt. And for a short circuit, use the other meter for that one. Already set, it's on the 10 amp range. Uncharged. Short circuiting now. Maybe this multimeter thing doesn't work. It was playing up on the resistance. Alright, I'll get rid of that one. I think that one's sort of got too much zinc sulfate in it. It didn't sort of work the other day with a resistance test. Alright, short circuiting now. Alright, 600 milliamps. It's on the 10 amp range. So that's an increase already. Alright, so I'll connect it to the data logger and give it a charge for half hour and we'll see where we sit. It should actually, in theory, a half hour charge should maybe run for an hour. This one was only running for half an hour. And it did get an hour, but after I charged it for an hour, it sort of didn't respond any better. Alright, so I'll charge it up and I'll be back. Okay, I've just connected the charge where we peaked at 800 milliamps on a charge and we're slowly dropping down now. So I'll leave it for a half hour and I'll get back, and with a bit of luck we have duplicated that cell. A strange way to embed the nanoparticles into the carbon. It's probably imprecise, but in this case it may just work. Okay, back. It's 34 minutes on charge. I'll just disconnect the charger. It's a bit wonky. Here was me fiddling with the leads. So I was sort of cleaning up and bumped a couple of leads. So they've got alligator clips, but they seem to just not contact too well. So connecting the data logger again to the other end. Right, we're 1.6, so we dropped off a bit on this run. It's first charge though. Stopping the monitor, starting our discharge of 100 milliamps. Alright, we're sort of holding. The other cell held 1.4 volts at this load, that cell there, for about a minute. So this one may be somewhere in the ballpark. We can sort of start to see more of the cell now. It's clearing up. There's a bit of stuff at the bottom, the heavier particles, but they obviously won't suck up into the carbon. But that electrolyte is pretty clear now compared to how we started. No, we didn't get a minute, but we'll see how we go. It's only the first charge, may need a few charges. That's if it is a reproduction of that cell. Bit of luck. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, just a small update. The cell is actually looking quite promising. It's 23 minutes into its discharge and it's 0.9 compared to the other one. It would almost be depleted. So not too bad for the first run. Little hiccup here for some reason, but looking okay, sort of. I'll be back. 1 hour and 10 minute update. 0.6 volts, 117 milliamp hours and 102 milliwatt hours. And the cell's starting to really get clean. And we have some bubbles still on the outside, so the cell may get better when those bubbles finally free themselves. So maybe it's too early, it's only the first charge. I'll try again after this finishes for an hour's charge and see if we actually get an increased wattage. Alright, I'll be back when this finishes. Okay, back 1 hour and 43 and the data logger is just starting to try to adjust its milliamps per voltage. It may drop a bit quicker now, but you notice the voltage goes up every time it tries to adjust. But not a bad run, 173 milliamp hours, 135 milliwatt hours. I'll take it to the cutoff voltage. It should start stabilizing somewhat soon because the voltage is jumping probably too high when it adjusts. But it's very drastic at 100 milliamp load. You can really see what it's doing. See, there it goes again, but it lost a lot of milliamps just then when it popped it up to 0.6. Maybe I should just set the cutoff voltage at 0.5, save the hassle. Okay, it may have stabilized. I'll get back. No, it hasn't. Alright, I'll keep it going. Okay, the cell's now at 2 hours and 17 minutes, 229 milliamp hours and 161 milliwatt hours. And the voltage is holding quite well actually. And the cell's actually really clearing up. You can actually see through the electrolyte now. Most of the excess particles are at the bottom. They probably won't be being used at all. They're just wastage. There was about 0.3 grams of the zinc hexacyanoferrate in that solution before I put that charcoal chip in there. It's not dropping as quick as I liked, so I'll get back when that does. I'm surprised it's holding this long. Okay, we've just nearly at the end. There we go. We just made it. So we topped at 234 milliamp hours, 163 milliwatt hours, 0.7 average voltage, which ain't too bad considering to the other tests were around 0.71, 0.76, 0.66 as it goes up. And voltage bounce back, sort of not too bad for a heavy load, and 2 hours and 21 minutes. So we still don't know it's actually functioning well. It could have been just a one-off thing. I'll give it an hour's charge and we'll see if we can get 4 hours and 400 milliamp hours out of the cell. That will be a tester. So I'll just connect all that up and I'll be back. Okay, getting ready for a 1 hour charge, setting the monitor now. Connecting the power supply. Okay, we're 900 milliamps straight up. Alright, I'll leave this for 1 hour and I'll get back. Bit of luck, it performs just as well. Okay, we're on charge for 1 hour and 2 minutes. I've just disconnected. We're ready for a test run after an hour's charge. Not sure what it's doing. It's sort of jumped up and down and it's dropping in voltage pretty quickly. Okay, alright, well see how this goes. Okay, hour and 18 minute update, 0.6 volts. It's slightly higher, 131 milliamp hours. I think on an hour and 10 on the last run was 117 milliamp hours or something like that. So not sure, not much more. We'll see how it goes. I don't think it will get over 2 hours. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, the 1 hour charge cell ran for 2 hours and 28 minutes. We didn't get much of an extra time wise, but we have 246 milliamp hours and 181 milliwatt hours, and the average voltage is up by 0.04. We did have 0.7 milliamps and we got 0.7 volts average, and this run we got 0.74. Milliwatt hours was down on the half hour charge but slightly up. So we have an improvement, but not by a great amount of time. The other one ran for 2 hours and 21 minutes. For the extra half hour, I guess we did get a little bit more. So further testing is needed. We got a bounce back of 0.7 and climbing slowly. I'll leave it for tonight and charge it up for an hour and a half tomorrow and see what happens. I think I have to get that zinc off the floor, if it is. I don't think it is though. It may be at the bottom touching, I'm not sure. Alright, I'll charge it up a few more times and see what happens. Okay, today we're seeing if the charge can the cell can handle an hour and a half's charge. I've got it connected up ready for a 100 milliamp discharge. We're holding 1.8 and dropping, and we started getting unstable around 122, where it starts increasing in milliamps and starts dropping again in voltage. I think the cell becomes unstable after that much charge. Alright, starting the test. Alright, we're holding pretty well. 1.7 normally drops to 1.4, 1.5. Alright, that's looking good. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, the cell's still at 1.4 volts after 11 minutes. It's weird. Normally it's right down. Yeah, maybe it's forming with the more charges the cell has. Or maybe the oxygen's dispersed around the outside. I slightly lifted that plate up. That might be a reason. I've brought it level with the carbon briquette at the bottom. That's just the separator right down at the bottom there. I think the stuff was building up at the bottom and shorting the cell. Well, that was my theory. I'm going to try the cell with the zinc wrapped around the outside and maybe a center core as well to utilise the whole surface area. Because I think the surface area we're using is just the around the separator. And we're probably wasting a lot of this carbon. That'll be after this video. This one's getting a bit drawn out. We're trying to figure it out. But it's looking good. I'll be back with an update. 1 hour update. Just dropped to 0.9 volts then. So an hour and 14 minutes it maintained its high voltage. Not too bad of a run. Still going. 125 milliamp hours and 151 milliwatt hours. 100 milliamp load. Okay, we're at the 2 hour mark now, holding 0.8, 201 milliamp hours and 220 milliwatt hours for the cell so far. It seems to be improving with each charge. Not sure though. I'll push the charge tomorrow to 2 hours maybe. Alright. I've just noticed another jump in voltage here for some reason. Same as what happened over here. Not sure what's going on there. But, see how it goes. Okay, back for a 3 hour update. Cell's still going, 0.6, holding pretty well actually. 311 milliamp hours, 302 milliwatt hours, average voltage 0.97. So an hour and a half charge after a few half-hour charges seems to be starting to look quite well. Wonder how far I can push these charges. We'll find out. Alright, I'll be back when it runs out or next hour. Okay, didn't think I'd get this far. We're at a 4 hour runtime. 403 milliamp hours, 359 milliwatt hours on the cell. Still, the cell's in pretty good condition. It's quite clean. There's some weird colouring. Hang on, unless that's reflecting off of that battery. Right, we've got some, could be the spoon. That's red. No, we've got some red tingy sort of strange substance going there. Whatever that is. Oh, well, we could be picking up reflection from that. Maybe not. Oh yeah, could be. I'm not sure. Doesn't really matter. So, well, I'll let it go down to 0.4 and we'll see what we get. Oh, we got another step. Oh, here's another one forming. Every time it drops 0.1 of a volt, it pops up one of those. Might be the data logger adjusting itself perhaps, but pretty fantastic run. Okay, I'm back, 5 hours and 9 minutes. I'm going to cut it off now. We probably won't get much more power density out of it anyway. So it was a 1.5 hours charge, 515 milliamp hour, 418 milliwatt hours to date, and average voltage is up. It's 0.81 volts. So I'll leave it for this video because it's quite long and it's just mainly charges. I'll keep the cell alive and charge it every day for an hour and a half, and we'll see how long it actually runs for, and I'll keep results. I'll post all these results at the description so you can check them out. And I think I have reproduced that cell. Seems to be, it took a while for it to sort of take effect. I think you have to keep charging for a while or something, but it seems to work quite well. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoy this cell, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, and we'll check the voltage bounce back. Oh yeah, went back to 6, slowly goes up. I think it might go to 1 or 0.9 overnight and sit there. Alright, thanks for watching.